The sculptor's studio was a sanctuary of quiet dust and half-formed dreams. Taehyung ran a gentle thumb over the porcelain cheek of the statue, the cool, smooth surface, a stark contrast to the rough clay his hands were so accustomed to. He'd spent months on this piece, shaping her from nothing into a form of exquisite grace. He called her Angel, a name that had whispered itself to him in the silence of his work. She was perfect in every line, every curve, an ideal of beauty he'd created. But she was lifeless. Meant are going to lose yourself in her, Taehyung, he had warned him, his voice gruff. She's just clay, not a person. Art is about capturing life, not replacing it. He couldn't help it. He was obsessed. He'd find himself talking to her late at night, sharing his fears and his hopes. Just a little more life, Angel, he'd murmur, meticulously painting her face, giving her eyes that seemed to hold a flicker of a soul, a yearning he felt deep within himself. Then one stormy night, thunder rattled the windows. Over the roar of rain, a knock sounded at his studio door. He opened it and his breath stopped. A woman stood there, drenched, shivering. Her face, her eyes, her features were exactly like the statue. "I'm so sorry to bother you. My car broke down and this was the only light I saw. Do you have a phone I could use? Or maybe a blanket?" Young couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She was real. "My name is YN, she offered, a small, weary smile on her lips, if that helps. "Taehyung?" he managed, finally finding his voice. "Come in, please." He led her to a worn armchair by the dormant fireplace, his gaze repeatedly flicking from her to the statue, searching for differences that weren't there. He let her stay. How could he not? He saw his perfect creation standing before him, flesh and blood. She stepped in, sitting by the fireplace as he gave her a blanket. His eyes darted back and forth, between her and the statue. No difference. None at all. After she warmed up, YN thanked him. "You've been very kind. I should go. I don't want to trouble you any longer." Softly, almost reluctant, "It's no trouble, but be safe." She smiled faintly and left into the rainy night. For days after, Taehyung couldn't stop thinking about her, the real YN. A week later, he was visiting the city museum for inspiration. He stood quietly in the gallery of sculptures, admiring the works of past masters. Then, he heard a familiar voice. "Yin, Taehyung, is that you?" He turned, and there she was, YN. Not clay, not porcelain, but alive, standing in front of him with a warm smile. "YN, what are the chances?" "Yin, I love coming here. I didn't expect to see you." They walked together through the museum halls, talking about art, life, little things. That day turned into coffee. Coffee turned into evening walks. Slowly, they began to meet often, almost naturally drawn together. One evening, Taehyung finally gathered the courage. "YN, would you like to visit my studio? I want to show you my work." "Of course. I'd love to see it." She arrived, curious and excited. Taehyung showed her the different statues he had made, figures of dancers, old faces, abstract forms. She admired each one carefully. "They're all so full of detail. You really see the world differently, don't you?" "Maybe. Or maybe I just try to capture what I can't say in words." They moved deeper into the studio. Then she stopped suddenly. Her eyes widened. There it was. The statue. The one he had poured months of his soul into. The one he had named YN. Her own face, her own eyes, perfectly captured in porcelain. This is me." "Yes, I made her before I met you. I didn't even know you existed, and yet you appeared, exactly as I created." YN stepped closer, staring at the statue's cold, flawless face. Her hand trembled as she touched its porcelain. "It looks just like me, but empty. It feels strange, as if she's me, but not me." "Taehyung, when you walked into my studio that night, I thought my dream had come alive. I couldn't believe it, but now I see the difference." "Are you in love with her, Taehyung, or with me?" The room grew silent. The statue stood between them, cold and still, while the real YN's eyes burned with life. Taehyung rushed to her side. He grabbed her hand, then froze. Crimson threads, thin and glowing, appeared across his skin, winding over his wrist. He looked down at her hand. She had them too. The threads stretched between them, pulsing faintly as if alive. "YN, your hand. These threads, they're on me too. What is happening?" YN's eyes darkened with recognition, sadness heavy in them. "These are soul threads. They only appear when a spirit is bound. You didn't just sculpt me. You've been pulling parts of me into your statue." No, that can't be. I only wanted to give her life, not take yours." "But that's exactly what happened. I was drawn to you that stormy night, without even knowing why. Now I understand. You were calling me, piece by piece, Through your art. She coughed softly, her body weak. You're alive, while I'm fading. Taehyung's chest tightened painfully. He looked at the statue. It shimmered faintly, its porcelain eyes glistening like they were about to blink. Then he looked at 𝐲𝐻𝐻, paler than before, her breath uneven. No, I can't lose you. Tell me what to do, 𝐲𝐻𝐻. How do I stop this? There are only two paths. Finish her, and I'll disappear completely, or destroy her and the threads will snap and I'll live, but your greatest masterpiece will be gone forever. The choice tore at him. His whole life he had dreamed of creating perfection, and here it stood, flawless, almost alive. But 𝐲𝐻𝐻, the real 𝐲𝐻𝐻, stood beside him, fragile, fading, human. Taehyung picked up the heavy hammer from his workbench. His hand shook violently. He turned to 𝐲𝐻𝐻. I thought my art was my greatest creation, but it's you, 𝐲𝐻𝐻. You're the soul I was searching for. With a scream that echoed through the studio, he swung the hammer. The statue shattered, porcelain exploding into shards. With each strike, the glowing threads snapped violently, until finally they all disappeared in a rush of air, like chains breaking free. Taehyung dropped the hammer and ran to her. 𝐲𝐻𝐻, please stay with me. Her breathing steadied. The color returned to her cheeks, her eyes clear and alive again. She touched his face gently in. You chose me? Not her. You saved me. Always you, the living, breathing you. He buried his face in her shoulder as relief flooded him. Around them, the studio was in ruins, his masterpiece destroyed. But in its place, something greater had been saved. A soul, a love, and a bond stronger than art. Softly, almost to himself. True art was never clay. It was you. The studio was filled with dust and shards of porcelain, the remnants of what had once been his greatest dream. Taehyung sat on the floor, holding 𝐲𝐻𝐻 tightly in his arms, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Your dreams had vanished, but as he brushed his thumb across her wrist, he saw faint marks, like delicate scars where they had once been. He looked at his own arm. The same marks remained, glowing faintly like embers before fading into pale lines. They're gone, but they left something behind. 𝐲𝐻𝐻 glanced at her wrist, then met his eyes. Threads don't break without leaving a trace. Maybe it's their way of reminding us that we're bound, not by clay or obsession, but by choice. Her words wrapped around him warmer than any blanket. He smiled through the tears that still clung to his lashes. I spent years searching for perfection in statues, in lifeless forms, but it was always you, flesh, soul, life. You're more beautiful than anything I could ever create. 𝐲𝐻𝐻 touched his cheek gently, her hands steady now. And you finally learned, the greatest art is not in shaping clay, but in shaping love, in giving life, not stealing it. They sat there in silence for a long time, surrounded by broken pieces, yet both feeling whole for the first time. Finally, Taehyung stood, offering his hand to her, softly, 𝐲𝐻. Let's leave this place. I don't need statues anymore. I only need you. 𝐲𝐻𝐻 placed her hand in his, her smile small but radiant. Then let's go. Together. Hand in hand, they stepped out of the ruined studio into the cool night air. The storm had passed, leaving the sky clear and filled with stars. And though the crimson threads were gone, they both carried the invisible bond in their hearts, unbreakable, eternal, alive. As they walked away, Taehyung whispered one last time, more to himself than to her. This is my masterpiece.